Did you see the title of the video? Well, good. That probably means you're going to watch it. Because I want people to engage with these videos. I mean, that's why I make these videos. So, yeah. Let's get to it. Hello, everyone. Britton here, also known as some lowkey dude, and I'm back with another discussion video. And I'll admit, I know a lot of people were missing the discussion videos. I took a break because I was doing a lot of them a while back, and I was kind of getting burned out on them. And also, I had a bit of a weird experience the last time I made one of these. But I thought it would be... but I decided to make a comeback after taking a break for a little bit because... I miss doing them. I like doing these type of videos. It's a good way to start conversations, to get people talking, and, I mean, I like doing them, so there you go. And it's probably my ability to try and be like Raph, though. I'm not as good as Raph. I'm more rambly than Raph is, but... Anyway, before I ramble too much longer, I guess I should get into, Death of the Author and why I don't really like it that much. I know this is a bit of a complicated subject, and I'm not here to say that you're an idiot if you think that, if you believe in Death of the Author, separating the art from the artist. I'm just talking about why I personally don't like this idea. I was initially inspired to make this video after a tweet I made about a month back about how I think the idea of Death of the Author is a bit ridiculous, and I thought I'd make a video explaining my views. I mean, again, I'm not trying to say my position is right or, you know, you're wrong and you're stupid or whatever. I'm not trying to denigrate anybody. I just want to start a conversation. I mean, that's often my intention when I make videos like this. But, you know, that's just how it goes. I've said it before, and I'll say it again because I've said it in a couple videos where I describe what I look for when I'm reading. But when I read a book, it feels like you're gaining a special insight into the author's psyche in a way, or the person who created the piece of art anyway. Literature, specifically, at its best, is a meeting between the author and the audience. I often view the critic in that way as the mediator between the author and audience, kind of author and kind of audience, helping the audience gain a deeper understanding of the text and kind of being a lawyer of sorts for the author. In other words, I find that you kind of have to take the author's perspective into things when you read a book. And I find it kind of ridiculous, and that's kind of why I find the idea of separating art from the artist kind of ridiculous, is because the art and the artist are very closely interlinked. You know, someone had to sit down and put the piece of art together and put it out for other people to see. So, again, I think you kind of have to take the author's perspective into things when you're, you know, consuming authors. I mean, I apply this with every piece of media I consume, whether it be a film, video game, TV show, comic, whatever. I think that understanding the author's perspective is important to understanding the author's work. I mean, you don't have to like that view. There's plenty of views and works that I read that I don't agree with or even like, for that matter. Or if it's badly written, then it's just a view that is just badly described. But you do have to engage with it in some way if you're going to understand it in any way, in my opinion. I think an easy example of this is H.P. Lovecraft. I get it. The guy was an unrepentant racist, and a lot of that crap seeps into his work, and it should be loudly and very definitely condemned, because a lot of it is really bad. Though a lot of it was in his personal letters. But anyway, I don't want to sound like I'm defending the guy. Hell, I don't even really like his idea of the world in general that he portrays in his work. How people will just curl up and die in a ball of angst once they face the unknown. Perhaps that speaks to a rosier view of humankind than Lovecraft had on my end, but that's how I think of the world. Nonetheless, I think it's important to engage with this view in order to understand his work, if you're going to understand it at all. Because again, I find that the art and the artist is very closely interlinked. And while I do understand the idea of once you put a piece of art out there, it's not yours anymore, I also understand that the author put a lot of himself or herself or themselves into the book. And I feel you have to really take that into occasion. But like I said, you don't have to like or agree with what the author has to say, but I think you must have to engage with it in some way, or at least try to engage with it. The reason I get annoyed with people who parrot out Death of the Author, or separating art from the artist, is because I think it dilutes critical thinking in some ways. it's a cop-out for people who want to enjoy something without really engaging with what the author of the work is saying or what it has to say about the world around us. I mean, if you agree with it or not is inconsequential as far as I'm concerned, but what matters is that you understand what they're trying to say, at least, or at least try to engage with what the author is trying to say. Now, I won't be unreasonable. I understand that sometimes there are works that take a life of their own. A good example of this is Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, which is considered one of the greatest comic books ever made, at least in a lot of people's opinion, mine included. Particularly the character of Rorschach comes to mind when I think of this concept. I generally get annoyed when I see people who go, "Oh man, Rorschach, he's so based," because that's not really the point of that character. Moore intended Rorschach to not be an admirable figure, and generally he's not. He's a loner, aloof, sexist, misogynistic, homophobic nutjob who beats up people to take out his own rage and inadequacies out on the world. But I don't think, to be fair, I don't think Moore foresaw how many people would actually grow to connect with Rorschach due to his disillusionment with the world and his crushing despair over the evil that's in it, and despite his crusade, his inability to truly make a change. I mean, in other words, Moore wrote him so well that Rorschach really became a person of his own, even going beyond what he intended. Now, I know a lot of people might go, "Britton, you're contradicting yourself," but I don't think so. But I think the difference here is that I think really where it comes from is, I guess my logic is this. Like I said, the audience and the author, when I think of art, they meet together. So you put your interpretation into it, and then you take the author's interpretation, and both of those meet. Like I said, I've said before that I think literature is kind of like a conversation in some ways. You're having a conversation with the author in a lot of ways. And authors, in other ways, have conversations with each other. I've talked about this concept a lot, especially on my podcast, Britain's Hangout Hour, with a lot of my guests. But I find that really the meeting between the author and the audience is really what makes that's really the best understanding of literature. And that's not to say that people's perspectives and interpretations are completely meaningless. I mean, I think that the audience's interpretation is also important. I think that art, on some level, has a lot of variations where you can come to your own conclusions about them. But I think if you meet your interpretation, along with the author's interpretation, you gain a fuller understanding of the work around of the work that you're consuming. I'm sorry if that doesn't make sense. If that's a lot of videos, if that's a lot of word salad, I apologize. It's not bad to come to your own opinions about the work that you've consumed, but what I find objectionable is people who want to cut part of that understanding out of interpreting a piece of art. I mean, like I said, I think an audience's interpretation is fine, and I find the best books are the ones... I find that the best books or the best pieces of literature are the ones where sometimes the author's interpretation kind of moves beyond itself. I mean, Watchmen comes to example. Not V for Vendetta. Watchmen, for example. Lolita, for another example. A lot of people also say that... I would also put Lolita into a work that was written so well that it kind of moved beyond the author's original intent. I think it's safe to say that Humbert Humbert is an objectionably horrible human being. But because Nabokov wrote him so well, and the fact that he's such an interesting character with depth, people grew to understand that character and came to their own conclusions that kind of moved beyond the story that Nabokov was trying to tell. I guess it's not really fair. I know some people might go, "Well, now you're just saying you want your cake and eat it too." I guess that's how I view understanding art. It's having your cake, which is the author's perspective, and eating it as well, which is your own perspective. So, yeah. These are just generalized thoughts. But, yeah. I don't really like the idea of death of the author. I think it's not really. I think it's kind of not lazy. That might be too strong of a word, but I just don't really like. I don't really like it all that much because it's just. Again, I find that the art and the artist are both connected in a very strong way. So you kind of have to take the author's perspective into consideration. I think my friend Brett Tharp on Twitter put it quite nicely. He said, the author is not the god of their world, for sure, but it's not completely useless to take their perspective into account when you're reading something. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that probably put it even better than I would put it. So, there you go. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it wasn't too word salady for you all. You can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on Instagram and Blue Sky. No, I'm barely on Blue Sky, but you can follow me on there if you want. You can find me on Goodreads and Letterboxd, where I write reviews that are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now. Like, subscribe, click the subscribe button, comment. As my buddy John Minton likes to say, I'm wearing this merch today, but it feels good. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what you guys think about this subject in the comment section. Till next time.